right, welcome to Cinema Studies, a show where we discuss classic films in depth and the history of their creation. My name is Josh. Today, I'm joined by one of my best friends, Randall, and we're going to discuss the classic French film noir, Rififi. What's up, dude? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I was very excited to watch this with you, and I'm honestly just as excited to talk about it because of the terrible memory that I've got. I need to learn more about this movie. I thoroughly enjoyed this one, so I'm excited to talk about it. And yeah, I'm doing good, man. Doing good.
Sweet. Yeah. So I'd never seen this movie before. When I talked to you about doing the channel, you actually recommended it, and it's one I had heard of but never seen. How did you come to this one?
So, okay, so for anybody who doesn't know, I have a channel where I talk a lot about horror movies. And in that, I'll do a lot of research. And then in my research, I do a lot of top 10 list listening. I make top 10 lists on occasion, but it's something that I forget about a lot. But when I'm doing research, I often go directly to top 10 lists. And then I take from those lists and see what the common movies are across people that I kind of trust their opinion. And this movie popped up on 3 out of 5 lists, and I had never even heard the name of it. And I was like, what? And it was like way up there on um, it was actually, I was looking for horror stuff, which led me down a rabbit hole to heist movies, and that's where this one came up. It was on a bunch of people's lists for heist movies, but on a few of the guys that I really like, it was way up there at like 3, 4, 2 out of 10 or 20. And I was like, wow, for a movie I've never even heard of, like that kind of took me by surprise. And as soon as you mentioned classic movies, knowing that we don't necessarily see eye to eye on that kind of movie all the time, the first thing I thought of was this because I knew you'd like it. I wasn't even questioning it. I knew you'd like it. And I was like, all right, if I have anything to lend to this, it's the fact that I'm positive he'll like this movie, and we can watch it and agree on it, and there won't be no bickering. We can talk about it. It's a good movie, and that's all I was thinking. And then when we sat down to watch it, I kept looking over at you because I didn't hear any you know how when you watch something with somebody and you're expecting them to like it, or you're hoping anyways, and it's quiet in the room, and if they're not enjoying it, you can tell because their body language isn't like this, it's like this. And I looked over, and every time I looked over, you were sitting like comfortable, like you were just chilling. And I was like, all right, man, because again, I wasn't really worried about it, but dude, I mean, there could be any number of reasons why you don't end up liking something. So nothing's a guarantee, but I was pretty sure. I was pretty sure you'd like it, and it came from a number of top 10 lists that I'd found on on YouTube, and I had written it down. And I also originally wanted to watch it because my wife likes movies more in the same vein of the stuff you like. So I wanted to watch it with her, and yeah, that's why I knew what it was and kind of where it came from. I knew it wasn't in English, which a couple years ago I wouldn't have really been a fan of that, but my tastes have grown quite a bit. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it was definitely a name that I'd heard before, and I think I knew that it was like a film noir heist movie, but it wasn't like high on my radar, really. But when I thought about doing the channel and I was like, what would me and Randall do? I was definitely thinking film noir because, from the very beginning, we bonded over that.
Yeah, even
Uh,
with our comic books.
yeah, that's where we started. We became friends through comic shop, and that's one of the things that we always agreed on.
You and I connected very quickly with crime noir, crime fiction. With what's his name that did Criminal?
Brubaker, Ed
Brubaker,
Brubaker.
Edward
Yeah.
Brubaker, and that was one of the talking points that we got to. We really enjoyed a lot of his stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So let's just start getting into it. I'm going to talk about a little bit about the history behind the movie and then we'll just start now, and then we'll get into some of the major plot points and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm here to learn as much as I am to talk. So
Cool. Yeah. So the movie is directed by Jules Dassen, and this is a French movie, but he's actually an American. He's born in Connecticut of a Russian Jewish, has a Russian Jewish family, and he was a victim of the Hollywood Blacklist. Are you familiar with the Hollywood Blacklist at all?
I was waiting for you to stop because I wanted to ask you what that really was.
Okay.
My Hollywood history is, I don't know a lot about it. So,
Yeah. So after World War II, um, we were in the late 40s and into the 50s. We were kind of in the Cold War with Russia.
yeah.
And there was a lot of the McCarthyism going on. A lot of
McCarthyism? Bro, you're
yeah.
talking to a guy that didn't even get out of high school. So,
So
my
so
apologies.
uh, so it's people that it's basically paranoia about communism in America. At the end of the 40s and then throughout the 50s, they were really concerned with, communist cells in America, and specifically with the Hollywood Blacklist, they were concerned with filmmakers, communist filmmakers that were inserting their agendas into films. Um,
Wow.
yeah, it's a big,
Huh.
big, big deal. And so a lot of filmmakers were persecuted and put on the blacklist and, not allowed to make a living because they were suspected communists.
I was going to say, it sounds like a lot of guessing was going on back then. I
Yeah.
think this guy might have something to do with it. Well, instead of researching it, let's just kick him out of here because, well, why waste the time? There's plenty of people to make movies.
Yeah. There's
That's
a, I mean,
unfortunate.
there's a long list of very famous filmmakers um, that were not able to work. There was a movie that Bryan Cranston was in called Trumbo about Dalton Trumbo. He was a
I've heard of
famous,
that.
yeah, he plays a famous screenwriter. He wrote tons of really classic movies, and he was one of the main, like, the big names that was persecuted for being, a
Suspected
communist
communism.
sympathizer. Yeah.
I'm gonna
It's
have to
a
do a little
crazy.
bit of research on that. That's a very interesting topic. I have little to no knowledge on. So,
Yeah, it really is pretty fascinating. So Jules Dassen, at the end of the 40s, he was put on the blacklist
man,
and couldn't make a movie for it was about 5 years before he made his next movie.
with this much talent, that's such a shame.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I think he made a movie in 49, and then he was, for a couple of years he was struggling to try and get someone to make a movie, but no, I mean, once you're on that list, nobody, you're poison, nobody wants to touch you.
that's
So
so
he
crazy.
so he moved to Europe to try and make movies there. Still struggled because even in places like France, they still want to be able to play their movie in America.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you put your name on it, there's a big chance that they're just gonna nix your movie. You can't play it in America. It's a huge market. So took him a long time just to to get anything made, and Rafifi was the first movie he made. But yeah, finally he got some producers in France to work with him. They gave him the book of Rafifi, which uh, apparently is not very similar to this movie at all. Have you
Not
read
very
it?
good either.
That's what I've heard.
Not all of it. I
Yeah,
didn't like it. I didn't make it through the whole book.
Jules Dassin said he read it. He said he hated it, but there's a heist in it at one point.
That's
He's like,
hilarious. I didn't know that. He's like,
yeah,
ugh.
yeah. He didn't want. He was like, I'm not interested in doing this at all. But they like begged him to do it for whatever reason. So he pulled the heist section out of it and just basically made his own story. Um, there's
That's
a
awesome.
there's a really interesting story he has about a meeting he had with the author, because he wrote the script, and the author insisted on meeting with him, and he said, this is a great script, but where's my book?
He's like, it's in the trash can where it
Yeah.
belongs.
He's like, well, Hollywood, we have to change things for, to make it out of film and stuff like that. He's like, um, yeah, that's cool and all, but where's my book? And he pulls out a gun and sets it on the table.
The author
And
did?
yeah, the author.
And not being satisfied with my answer, I see this man take out a gun and put it on the table. And he said again, where is my book? I looked at the gun and I looked at his hat. And I began to laugh. And because I laughed, because I showed no fear of his hat or his gun, he took me in his arms and we became very good friends. Auguste Le Breton, who just died some months ago. Nice man.
Dude, that is a great story.
Isn't it? That's crazy, isn't it?
Dude, that's awesome. If I'd have read that, I would have rushed in the kitchen to tell Carissa. Like, I'd be like, you got to hear this. This is crazy. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Dude, the weirdest crap happens in real life, man.
Yeah, it's a weird story, but I thought it was pretty fascinating.
He's just like, where's my book? Clunk. That's awesome.
So, movie starts with the main character Tony playing poker.
Oh, they dude, if you're not familiar with what's going on, because like I'd only seen the movie one time before, all right, and it's a kind of a long movie, and it's not in English, so there's a lot of reasons why I'll forget something small at the very beginning of it, right? And so when I'm watching it, it's funny because if you're not familiar with it, you don't realize what you're really witnessing here, and that guy's important, and they're just treating him like crap. Isn't he like fresh out?
Yeah, fresh out of prison. You find out he did a 5-year stint in prison, just got out, and I guess he ran out of money at the poker table and had to call his friend to bail him out. His friend Joe.
He wanted a stake, and nobody would stake him.
Yeah.
But he was, I mean, in all fairness, he was asking at the wrong point. Like, I don't know a lot about that stuff, but I do have friends that gamble, and you don't do that at the table, man. You get up, you go handle your business, and you come back with chips. Like, that's just how it's supposed to be done. At least now, and the people that I'm familiar with. But like, even though he's like kind of a big deal, so it's kind of like out of respect, you think they would have maybe given him a little more, just respect in general, and they just didn't. They're just like, no, like we don't care who you are. I was like, even watching it again, I was like, uh-oh, like, man, that's a bad move, guy.
You get the feeling that like maybe they think he used to be somebody, but he's kind of washed up now.
Yep. I think that's how he felt.
Yeah,
he's like, oh, you don't think I'm serious still? You think I'm a joke? All right, cool, man. I'll catch you on the flip side. Because then old buddy shows up, and he basically just makes him like, he's like, look, man, I can stake you. He's like, I'll give you the money. I think we should go. He's like, I think we should go. Something, it just doesn't feel right. Let's get out of here, man. It's the younger dude, right? The light-haired guy. Is that his like son-in-law or something, or is it just like his homie?
I think he's just a guy that did a job with him, because there's another line of dialogue right afterwards that says that basically Tony took the fall for him.
That's what it felt like, is that he owed Tony for his freedom, is what it felt like to me.
So yeah, right from the beginning, it starts setting things up right away. So they leave the poker room, they call Mario, they're like, hey, we want to do a job, we want to rob this jewelry store. Initially Tony says no, but then he finds out about his ex-girlfriend's back in town, and you find out basically that she left him as soon as he went into prison. So Tony goes and finds his old flame, pulls her out of the nightclub, and takes her back to his apartment. And that's where we get that crazy scene of her making her strip and then beating her with the belt.
Bro, like I was looking on my shoulder, and we're sitting in Chris's house. I'm like, man, is anybody watching us watch this? We're gonna get in trouble.
I mean, I think that's a gritty scene even in 55, to be honest. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like for a movie even back then, that's crazy, man. Like even back then, I was like, man, that's a tough one, man. Like, ooh, buddy.
Yeah, and I feel like we definitely sympathize with Tony, and we like him for the most part, and we're rooting for him throughout the movie. But that's a rough scene. Like he's got some dirt under his nails right there.
They need to let you know he's not as straight laced as you may think, or not straight laced, but he's not as good guy. He's not as shiny as you think. He's dirty, like you say. He's got dirt under his nails. He's a grimy fella, and right. That's, they have to show you that somehow, and boy did they.
Yeah, they really do. I love how they shoot that though, because she makes her strip, but you don't see it. He like pushes her past the door frame.
That's preferred in my opinion. I like that.
Yeah, and you actually, I love how the camera pushes in on an actual photo, because he's got a photo of them together on the wall.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it like pushes into that photo as he's beating her.
Doesn't he make her leave without even letting her get dressed?
Yeah, she like starts to get dressed, and he pushes her out the door.
Good grief, dude.
And as mean as he is, he's obviously in pain about it because he loved her.
Yeah,
And
what was the catalyst to that? Something happened where she just said something to him and he just like lost his mind. Was she like with that other guy or something?
yeah, so what you find out is that she was basically got together with the owner of the nightclub. They don't ever explain it, but he's kind of a gangster character.
Yeah, not
And she,
somebody Tony wants her to be around.
yes. But that's kind of the catalyst to what makes him want to go ahead and do the heist after that.
Yep.
'Cause as soon as he
Yep.
pushes her out the door, then he picks up his phone. And he's like, "Okay, I'm in. Let's do it."
Did it out of anger.
Yeah.
Real smart.
Well, I mean, and I feel like it's kind of maybe was his last tie to a regular life too. Like maybe he had a small hope that he might have her to come back to, and then realizing that he's done with her. He's like, well, what
Yeah.
else? What else do I have to lose? That's kind of how I took it.
Whew. Yeah, it's a sad situation. Just all around.
So basically, they start setting up the heist after this.
It was all Ocean's 11.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there would be no Ocean's 11 without stuff like this.
I was so thinking that. I was so thinking that in like during the watch of it, I was like, man, this is so Ocean's 11 owes this movie so much gratitude.
That, and I was thinking Mission Impossible, like especially the first one, that heist scene in Mission
Yeah,
Impossible.
where he's like hanging from that, like, oh, bro, good call.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you the other night, but I wanted to wait. I decided to wait until today. How did you feel about the acting in this movie? I thought it was top notch.
I think it's really good, and especially for this time period where, like I like the Humphrey Bogart type movies and stuff, but you get sort of the like stilted, like macho ness of a lot of those guys that it's a little fake.
Yeah.
And I don't feel that way with most of these characters at all. Some of them are a little over the top, but not too much at all. I think they feel a little more grounded, especially for this time period.
I thought that specifically speaking of Tony, that you could take that exact portrayal of that character and put it in a movie with Brad Pitt right now, or George Clooney, or anybody really, and it would really work. I thought that he felt, like you said, it was kind of grounded. He felt real. It was.
Yeah.
I noticed that, and I don't usually notice stuff like that. I thought, man, what a great job this guy's doing of making this movie seem relevant in 2021, which is, I mean, how could they have even thought that would be the case, you know?
Definitely. So they get the team together. They kind of stake out the jewelry store. They're trying to figure out how to get past the alarm because it's this new technology that any vibrations, any sound at all will set it off. And we get the yeah. I mean, it's a great scene. It's old, it's old technology for today's standards, but it's pretty smart how they finally figure out to shoot the fire extinguisher in it and to muffle the sound, so they can get into it. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's badass, man. This movie's good, dude.
Right before we get to the heist, we get the scene of the in the nightclub of the lady singing the Rififi song.
Oh man, I had forgotten that was even like a thing. So when we were rewatching, because it was a rewatch for me watching it with you guys. Admittedly, it had been a while, but I had forgotten about that. And so she starts singing, and I was like, man, this sounds awfully familiar. And then she starts going Rafifi, and I was like, oh yeah, the name of the movie.
Feels like a throwaway scene almost, except that you get the fact that Caesar basically is attracted to her immediately. Right after that is when we get right into the heist. It's about 45 minutes into the movie, like smack dab in the middle of the movie, and we get the scene.
Bro, this is the scene. This is the scene right here. This is the one that I told people about when I told them I wanted to watch this movie. And this is the one that I told Chris about when I wanted her to watch it.
I don't know that there's I mean, you could relate it to something like Mission Impossible, but I don't think there's a better heist sequence um, than this out there. It's pretty
Better? I don't think
awesome.
better, but something else I like as much, maybe, but I'd have to go back and sift through tons of movies to find one.
Yeah.
But as we were talking about it earlier, and when we were watching it the other night, I remembered that is exactly what somebody had talked about that made me go purchase this movie. Was they said that there's like a, what was it, like 30-minute long scene? It was really long.
Yeah, it's just under 30 minutes long.
Bro, and there's nothing. There's like no dialogue, almost no noise. And when I say almost no noise, I mean every now and then you'll hear like the scuffle of a shoe. There's no noise. Like it's a silent scene. And that's what they had talked about. Like 2 or 3 people had mentioned, like, there's this spectacular scene that you have just got to see to believe. I could explain it to you, but it wouldn't work. You need to watch it. And they're like, it's silent and it is tense. And I agree. It's silent and it's tense. The whole time I was like, oof. And I knew, you know, the outcome. It's a movie.
Right.
But we're still like, are they going to do it? Oh, it's so fun, man. So fun.
Yeah, it is a tension-filled scene for a solid 30 minutes. And the fact that there's no music in it, it's just sound design. You get like,
It's a bold choice, man.
yeah, it is. And actually, the director talked about the fact that he didn't want music in it, and the composer told him, I'm gonna write music for this scene because you can't just not have music for 30 minutes in a movie.
He's like,
And
sure, go ahead, waste your time.
and the producer was like, yeah, I think you're wrong. We need music for it. So the director wisely was just like, okay. And so when they finished the movie, he cut it twice. He cut it with music and he cut it without. And he had them watch both. And at the end of it, the composer said, no music. Bad
I didn't
music.
know that. That's cool.
Yeah. So he let it speak for itself. And I mean, that's the smartest way to do it.
So I feel like I missed something at the heist. At the end of the heist, what exactly happened? Because I feel like I had this like in my, okay, so like when I'm going through the story in my head,
Mm-hmm.
there's like this jumbled mix up, and it's right about there where I can't really remember what exactly happened. I don't know if I was not paying attention or if I was getting something to drink or what I was doing, but like I don't remember what, because it suddenly goes from like everything is going smooth to just bad.
So they go through the heist. They have to dig through the floor. They use the umbrella to
That was
to
so
catch
awesome. Oh,
to
this
catch
movie's badass,
to
man.
catch all the debris and everything to keep it from making noise. And then they climb
That's what it was
down.
for, right? It was to keep it quiet.
Yeah, they were catching the
Oh,
debris so it didn't fall on the ground and make too much
and
noise
set
and
off
set
the
the
alarm.
alarm. Yeah.
Oh man, brilliant.
So and then they climb down, and then it's basically a can opener they use to cut open the safe.
Huh. Yeah, it is. That's
It's just
funny.
this big. They drill some holes in it, and then it's a big wheel that just like cuts
That's
a big
hilarious.
hole in the back of it.
That's right. They use the thing that it just starts going around and around and around. Oh yeah.
And as they grab all the diamonds, and as they're about to leave, Caesar has to take that extra diamond ring out of the drawer.
That's right.
Right after that is when things start going bad because
That's right. Yep.
of
Okay.
Caesar.
Yeah. What?
So
Wait.
Caesar,
Caesar?
because of Caesar. So Caesar is shacking up with the nightclub singer and gives her the diamond ring.
Okay.
She thinks it's fake, but the owner of the nightclub, the gangster, sees it, finds out about it, and figures out that it's them that did the
That's
heist.
right. Yeah. Oh god.
Yeah. So they capture Caesar, and he rats. He gives up their names.
Yeah.
Then they end up going to Mario's house. They won't give up the diamonds. They try and get him to call Tony and get him over there so they can get him as well. But the wife like warns him basically, and then they kill Mario and his wife.
That's right. Yeah, they start murdering people. I forgot about that. This movie gets pretty violent.
It does. It does. People, yeah, the team starts dying like right away. So Tony gets warned. So he goes looking for the nightclub owner, which his name is Gruder. So he goes to the nightclub looking for him, and that's when he finds Caesar tied up to that post.
Yeah. Dang, I'm like rewatching it in my head right now.
Yeah. and this is a fascinating scene to me because you've got the director himself tied up on the post for one thing. And the director said about this scene that he was thinking about the Blacklist when he wrote this.
I don't think any of that was in the book. I may be wrong, but I think nothing of it was in the book. And particularly his death. And there, I was just thinking of all my friends who, in a bad moment during that McCarthy era, betrayed other friends. And that was what I was writing and thinking about.
Right after that's when old buddy's gal gets snatched up. Or no. Was it his
son?
His son gets snatched up.
So
they go to just straight jack him.
Yeah, Joe's son gets kidnapped, and that's kind of the third act in the movie, trying to find his son.
Yeah.
They still have the diamonds, so they're able to they sell the diamonds to somebody who basically gives them money for them.
Black market type shit.
Black market. That's what I was trying to think of. Like it's some kind of black market guy. They sell them to him, and they get money for it. And Joe is like so frantic about him not having his son that he's just basically willing to give him the money. But Tony's insistent, no, we're not going to do that way. I'm going to find him.
He's basically like, look, dude, trust me. I've got this. If it gets to a certain point, we can discuss it, but I've got this under control. And Joe's just not wanting to hear it, which, I mean, understandably, they got his child. That's a different scenario. But at the same time, you got to think like, man, at what point do you want to just take a deep breath and at least hear the man out? Like, he didn't want to even hear it, man. Like, he's like, yeah, sure. And then he goes off and does the crap he knows he's not supposed to do.
So there's a scene that I don't even think I registered the first time. It was right before the end of the movie when everything goes down. But it's between Joe and his wife. His wife is like really distraught that her son's gone, and she's like laying down on her bed, and she says, "There's something I always wanted to tell you. There are kids, millions of kids, who've grown up poor, like you. How did it happen? What difference was there between them and you that you became a hood, a tough guy, and not them? You know what I think, Joe? They're the tough guys, not you."
Because they lived the right life, and they lived it through the straight and narrow, and they didn't break laws and rob and steal. Yeah. I agree with that. That is a badass line.
Yeah, when I read it this morning, I was like, oh, how did I miss that the first time? Because that's the whole point of the movie.
That's right there.
That's Rififi, like the tough guy. Like the guy who has to be macho and be tough, but it's so much tougher to walk the straight and narrow path, like to do the right thing and not take the shortcuts.
Yeah, I remember, if you needed to cut this out of the video, by all means do so, but I remember whenever Bricken was born, I was still selling weed, like, and I don't mean like little bits, like I was buying it whole pound at a time, a couple times a week. and the money was so easy to make. Like it was like I was making, dude, I didn't even have to really work at a job. I did that so I had paperwork so I didn't get bothered by anybody. And I remember Carissa told me like, "Hey, I really wish you'd stop selling that stuff." And I said, "Well, look, I'll stop selling everything but weed. But weed, I don't." And I've always kind of felt like weed's not really a bad drug. Like I don't really look at it like you look at other things. And I mean, look at the state of it now. You know, it's legal all over the country. Um, but I remember one day I just was sitting on the couch and I was looking at Bricken, and I remember the moment I decided I was going to stop doing it, and I got really upset. And Carissa was like, "What?" And I was like, "Washing dishes is so much harder than selling weed." And she was like, "Yeah, but you don't have to worry about going to jail for washing dishes." And
Yep.
that was the day this really happened. I can get her in here right now. I mean, it fucked me up emotionally for a couple of days because I knew that I was going to go from having some money to having like none. And I did. I went from having a decent amount of money in my pocket to having zero. And I mean, you know, I'm better off for it now because I'm living a much better life. I'm happy. I don't have to worry about going to jail. I'm too old for that shit, man. I don't want to deal with that mess. But it's a true statement. The harder stuff in life is getting up and throwing on your uniform and going to work all day when it's cold or rainy or hot, 110 degrees outside, and you're working 6 days a week. You know, I know how hard you work. That's why I always check on you. Hey, how's your day going? Hey, how you doing? How you feeling? Okay? Because I think about it, man. You're out there working. All of us could do sketchy shit. We all know the right people. We live in a city full of sketchy people, man. We live in Houston.
Yeah.
It's easy. You know, she's got a very good point telling him those are the tough guys, not you. But we got a
Yeah.
warped sense of what tough guys really are, and you know, just in general.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. It really hit me this time. I thought that was, and I don't even remember it the first time, to
I
be
didn't remember
honest.
that happening until you said it just now.
Yeah, it's kind of just a real subtle little scene that you could easily look over, but I
That's
feel like
amazing.
it's real important. Um, and you know, after that, it's really just the close of the movie. Like Tony uh, manages to find where the kid is hidden. Um, he, you know, kills the guy that's holding him. They drive off. He finds out that Joe is bringing the money to the gangster because he doesn't know that he has his son. He thinks that the bad guy still got his son.
Didn't trust him.
So,
Let him do his job. Gotta be a dumbass. Oh, that shit made
yep,
me so mad.
yep. He jumped the gun. So he finds it out, and then he tries to drive back to save his friend, but he's too late. He's dead. And then Tony gets shot by Gruder, and then so Gruder thinks he's dead. He runs off with the money, and then Tony shoots him in the back. It's a great ending. You know, he gets the kid back, but he dies in the process. Um, and it's kind of a classic film noir tragic ending.
I reserve scores that I give this kind of movie for special stuff like this. I mean, this is just a fantastic piece of film, and I'm super glad I got to hang out with you and talk about it.
Yeah, thanks, man. This was great. Lots of fun. Yeah, it's a great movie. I'm really glad you recommended it because I you know I might have watched it at some point, but um, I'm glad we watched it. It's definitely one I'm gonna go back to. Yeah, it's a
I'll be
great
honest,
movie.
it was like a badge of honor to come up with a classic movie that you didn't know much about. I was like, "What? That's what's up." Because I mean, you school me on that stuff every conversation because that's not my forte. That's not what I know. I mean, my knowledge is over here in like blood and guts. I mean, I just watched before I got in here. I was doing a gore score for VFW, so like that's my jam. Like, you know, 80s cheeseball stuff. So something like
Right.
this, it's actually a classic film. That's like, you know, dude, They Live. Is that classic? Of course it is, but it's not like this. This is a different kind of classic.
Yeah. we'll close it up here. I mean, I think we covered it. Thanks a lot, Randall.
Hell yeah,
This
man. I
lots
appreciate
of
the
fun,
time.
man. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Yeah. So like and subscribe to the video if you enjoyed it. You know, I'm gonna do one at least once a month. I think the next one I'm gonna do, I've got another buddy who wanted to do Doctor Strangelove, so we're gonna do that movie.
Interesting. Who's doing that with you?
Another guy, I don't think you know him,
Oh, okay.
but old buddy of mine that I used to talk movies with.
That's wild, dude. Doctor Strangelove, huh?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm gonna have to get you in touch with Carissa. She was actually quite excited when I told her that there was an opportunity that you might want to talk to her about doing this, and because y'all have a lot of movies in common that you like. I'm sure there's plenty that you don't agree on, but there's a lot of stuff y'all both at least enjoy to a certain extent. But yeah, man, I had a blast. I'm super appreciative of the time and platform, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. We'll see you next time. Bye.